Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Wise and Well, the channel where we talk about living your best life after 60 because age is just a number, right? Now, I know that sometimes it feels like your energy isn't quite what it used to be. Maybe you're not bouncing out of bed like you did in your 40s or even 50s. Or perhaps you've noticed that everyday tasks take just a little more effort than they used to. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. But here's the good news. Feeling great as you get older doesn't have to mean drastic changes or extreme routines. In fact, some of the most powerful habits for longevity are surprisingly simple. And they come straight from people who've lived well past 100 years old. Yes, centenarians, the folks who celebrate their 100th birthdays and keep on going. They've got secrets worth paying attention to. Now, before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered how some people seem to stay sharp, active, and full of life even into their later years? You might think it's all genetics or luck, but the truth is, lifestyle plays a huge role. And the beautiful part? It's never too late to start making choices that support a longer, healthier life. That's exactly what this video is about. We're going to explore 5 powerful habits practiced by people who live past 100 habits. You can start today, no matter your age or current health. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's begin with the first habit that could change everything. The first one might surprise you. It's not about diet or exercise, though those do come up. No, the very first thing many long-lived individuals have in common is a strong sense of purpose. Sounds simple, maybe even a little abstract, but hear me out. People who live to 100 often have a reason to get up in the morning, a daily mission, if you will. Whether it's tending to a garden, spending time with family, volunteering, or even working part-time doing something they love, having that why makes a big difference. You see, when you feel like you matter, when you feel needed and connected, it does wonders for both your mental and physical health. Studies show that having a sense of purpose can lower stress levels, improve sleep, and even reduce the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease and dementia. Think about it. When you wake up each day knowing you have something meaningful to look forward to, it gives you energy, it gives you motivation, it gives you joy. And the best part, you don't need to reinvent yourself overnight. Your purpose can be small, personal, and deeply fulfilling. Maybe it's reading to grandchildren over Zoom. Maybe it's baking cookies for neighbors. Maybe it's writing letters to old friends or sharing your stories with others. Whatever it is, find something that brings you satisfaction and makes you feel like you're contributing. Even if it's just an hour a day, it can make a world of difference. Let me share a quick story with you. There's a woman named Edith. I read about her in a documentary once, and she lived to be 103. Every single morning, without fail, she would walk down to the local library and help sort books. She said it kept her mind sharp and gave her something to look forward to. She wasn't paid for it, but she didn't care. It was her routine, her connection to the community, and honestly, her secret to staying young at heart. Isn't that something? So ask yourself, what lights you up? What makes you feel alive? It's okay if you're still figuring it out. The important thing is to start thinking about it. Because once you have that spark, that daily purpose, it becomes a foundation for everything else we'll talk about. All right, now that we've covered the power of purpose, let's move on to another key habit. One that affects every single person watching this video. Yep, you guessed it. Movement. But before you roll your eyes and think, here we go again, let me tell you, it's not about hitting the gym or running marathons. For our centenarian friends, staying active is usually much simpler than that. Think walking through the neighborhood, doing gentle stretches in the morning, or even dancing while cooking dinner. These aren't intense workouts. They're ways of keeping the body moving throughout the day. And believe it or not, consistent, low-impact movement has been linked to longer lifespans, better balance, improved mood, and reduced risk of falls and chronic illness. I know what some of you might be thinking, but my knees hurt, or I don't have the energy. I hear you. Aging can bring challenges, but the goal here isn't to push through pain. It's to find movement that feels good and fits into your lifestyle. Even 5 minutes of stretching in the morning or taking short walks around the house can add up over time. One thing I love about this habit is how flexible it is. You don't need any special equipment or memberships, just a willingness to keep your body engaged. Maybe you enjoy gardening, or maybe you prefer chair exercises while watching your favorite TV show. Whatever works for you, the key is consistency, not intensity. Let's take Maria, for example, a 102-year-old woman from Italy I recently read about. Her secret? She walked everywhere, even into town twice a week to visit the market and chat with friends. She didn't consider it exercise. It was just part of her daily rhythm. And guess what? She stayed active, independent, and joyful well into her second century. So here's your challenge. Look for small ways to move more throughout your day. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Do a few gentle stretches while waiting for the kettle to boil. Walk around the block after lunch. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it does need to become part of your routine. Now, you might be wondering how these two habits, purpose and movement, tie together. Well, the beauty is that they support each other. When you have something meaningful to do, you're more likely to get up and do it. And when you move your body regularly, you feel better physically and emotionally, which helps you engage more fully in the things you care about. It's a cycle, and once you get it going, it can be incredibly empowering. Okay, so far we've talked about finding your purpose and staying gently active. Both are essential building blocks for a long and vibrant life. But we're just getting started. There are 3 more habits that centenarians swear by, and trust me, they're just as impactful. Now that we've covered the first 2, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something we all do every single day, but may not give enough thought to. Something that affects everything from our mood to our metabolism. Can you guess what it is? Yep, you got it. It's what and how we eat. But again, before you worry about strict diets or complicated meal plans, let me reassure you. This next habit isn't about restriction or perfection. It's about mindful eating, whole foods, and enjoying meals in a way that nourishes both body and soul. We'll dive into that in just a moment. But first, let's take a breath and remember why we're doing this. It's not about chasing youth or trying to turn back the clock. It's about embracing the wisdom that comes with age and making choices that allow us to live fully with energy, joy, and independence. Because that's what longevity really means, not just adding years to your life, but adding life to your years. So stick with me, because the next habit is one you'll want to hear. Let's talk about food and how centenarians approach eating differently than most of us. All right, let's keep going. So far, we've talked about 2 powerful habits that centenarians, those amazing folks who live past 100, have in common: having a strong sense of purpose and staying gently active throughout the day. These aren't just feel-good ideas, they're lifestyle choices that have real, measurable impacts on health and longevity. Now, let's move into something we all do every single day, sometimes without even thinking about it: eating. But here's the thing, people who live to 100 don't just eat for fuel. They eat with intention, simplicity, and joy. And while there are many ways to approach healthy eating, the centenarian way is refreshingly down to earth. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine sitting at a wooden table in a small village somewhere warm, maybe Italy, Japan, or Greece. The meal isn't fancy, but it smells wonderful. There's fresh vegetables from the garden, some whole grains, maybe a bit of fish or legumes, and a glass of red wine if they choose to drink. There's no fast food, no processed snacks, and definitely no microwave dinners. Just simple, nourishing food made with love and eaten slowly. That's the third habit: eating a mostly plant-based whole foods diet. Now, before you say, "Oh no, not another diet talk," let me clarify. This isn't about strict rules or counting calories. It's about choosing foods that your body recognizes and thrives on. Think fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, and lean proteins like fish or eggs. These are the kinds of foods that give your body the nutrients it needs without the added sugars, preservatives, and unhealthy fats found in so many processed items. You might be wondering, but what about meat? Well, centenarians don't necessarily avoid it completely, they just eat less of it. Instead of making meat the star of every meal, they use it more like a flavor enhancer or a side dish rather than the main event. That shift alone can make a big difference in heart health, digestion, and overall energy levels. Another key part of this habit is portion control, not in a restrictive way, but in a mindful one. Many cultures with long-lived populations follow the idea of harahachibu, which is a Japanese phrase meaning eat until you are 80% full. It's a reminder to slow down and listen to your body's signals. Because when you eat too quickly or too much, your brain doesn't have time to catch up and tell you that you're satisfied. So how can you start applying this today? One simple way is to take smaller bites and chew thoroughly. Another is to pause halfway through your meal and ask yourself, am I still hungry or am I just eating out of habit? You might find that you don't need to finish everything on your plate to feel content. And let's not forget hydration. Drinking enough water is often overlooked, but it plays a huge role in keeping your body functioning well. Dehydration can cause fatigue, confusion, and even physical discomfort. So sip water throughout the day. It doesn't have to be plain either. Add slices of lemon, cucumber, or mint to jazz it up a bit. Now, let's talk about another habit that might surprise you. We've covered movement, purpose, and food. And now we come to something that affects every aspect of our health. Connection. Yes, human connection. Love, friendship, family, community. These things aren't just nice to have. For many centenarians, they're essential ingredients in the recipe for a long life. I know what some of you might be thinking. I'm retired now. My kids are grown. My friends are scattered or gone. If that sounds familiar, I hear you. Aging can bring changes in relationships, and sometimes loneliness creeps in without us even noticing. But here's the good news. Connection doesn't always mean being surrounded by people. It means feeling seen, heard, and valued, even if it's just by one person. Take George, for example, a man I once read about who lived to be 104. Every Sunday, without fail, he called his niece and talked about old times. It wasn't anything dramatic, but those conversations kept him grounded and reminded him that he mattered. Or think of May, a woman from Okinawa, Japan, who belonged to a lifelong group of friends called a moai. These groups were tight-knit circles where members supported each other emotionally and financially throughout their lives. That kind of deep, consistent connection was a big part of why so many Okinawans lived such long, happy lives. So how can you build or maintain meaningful connections as you age? It starts with small, intentional actions. Pick up the phone and call someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Join a local club or class, whether it's for gardening, crafts, or book discussions. Volunteer at a community center or church. Even regular visits with neighbors or friendly chats with the barista at your favorite coffee shop count. And if mobility or distance is an issue, technology can be a great tool. Video calls, social media groups, and online forums offer opportunities to stay connected with others who share your interests. The key is to engage regularly and nurture those relationships, even if it's just a little at a time. Connection also includes how you relate to yourself. Taking time for reflection, journaling, or simply enjoying quiet moments can help you stay emotionally balanced and grounded. Self-compassion is important, especially as we age. Being kind to yourself when things don't go perfectly helps reduce stress and supports emotional resilience. Now, here's something interesting. Research shows that strong social ties can actually boost immunity, lower blood pressure, and even reduce the risk of cognitive decline. In fact, studies have found that older adults with active social lives tend to live longer, healthier lives than those who are more isolated. That's the power of human connection. So whether it's through family, friends, faith communities, or shared hobbies, finding ways to stay connected is a habit worth nurturing. And the best part, it doesn't require grand gestures or perfect timing. It just requires showing up, being present, and letting people into your life, even if it's just a little. All right, so far we've covered 4 habits: purpose, gentle movement, whole foods, and meaningful connection. All of these play a role in helping people live longer, more fulfilling lives. But we're not quite done yet. There's one more habit, one that often gets overlooked, but maybe one of the most powerful of all. Can you guess what it is? It's mindset. Yes, how we think about aging, ourselves, and life in general has a tremendous impact on how we experience our later years. And centenarians, more often than not, have a surprisingly positive outlook, even in the face of challenges. Think about it. Life after 60 comes with its fair share of changes: retirement, loss of loved ones, shifts in health. But the people who thrive the longest tend to face those changes with grace, gratitude, and a sense of humor. They don't dwell on what they can't control. Instead, they focus on what they can, and they find joy in the everyday. Some call it resilience. Others call it optimism. Whatever you name it, the result is the same. A mindset that supports mental clarity, emotional stability, and physical well-being. So what does this look like in practice? It might mean starting your day with a moment of gratitude, like writing down 3 things you're thankful for each morning. Or it could be choosing to laugh at life's little mishaps instead of getting frustrated. It might involve reframing negative thoughts into more empowering ones. For example, instead of thinking, "I can't do that anymore," try saying, "I'll find a different way." Many centenarians also practice mindfulness or spiritual practices that help them stay centered. Whether it's prayer, meditation, yoga, or just sitting quietly with a cup of tea, taking time to breathe deeply and reflect can do wonders for your overall well-being. There's a beautiful story about a woman named Ruth, who lived to be 105. She used to say that her secret wasn't any special food or routine, it was learning to accept change and adapt with a smile. When asked how she stayed so positive, she said, "Life gives you lemons, sure, but if you stir in a little sugar and water, you've got lemonade." That kind of perspective makes all the difference. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to find light even in the shadowy moments. And that kind of mindset becomes a habit over time with practice, patience, and self-compassion. So, to wrap up this part of the conversation, let's take a quick look back at the habits we've covered so far. Having a sense of purpose-finding daily meaning that keeps you motivated and engaged. Staying gently active, moving your body in ways that feel good and sustainable. Eating whole, nourishing foods, focusing on plants, lean proteins, and mindful eating. Nurturing meaningful connections, staying close with loved ones and building new relationships. Cultivating a positive mindset, embracing gratitude, adaptability, and emotional resilience. These 5 habits work together like pieces of a puzzle. Each one supports the others, creating a foundation for vibrant health and longevity. And the best part? You don't have to master all of them overnight. Start with 1 or 2 that resonate with you and gradually build from there. In the next part of this video, we'll dive deeper into how you can put these habits into action in your own life. I'll share practical tips, easy routines, and stories from people who've made these changes successfully, even later in life. Because remember, it's never too late to start living with more energy, joy, and purpose. And if you're watching this right now, that means you're already taking the first step toward a longer, more fulfilling life. So stick around. We're just getting to the really helpful stuff. All right, friends, we're in the home stretch now. We've already covered some of the most powerful habits that people who live past 100 have made part of their daily lives. Habits that support not just a longer life, but a richer, more joyful one too. We started with purpose, finding something meaningful that gives you a reason to get up each morning. Then we talked about movement, not intense workouts, but gentle, consistent activity that keeps your body feeling good. We looked at food, focusing on whole, plant-based meals eaten slowly and with gratitude. We explored the importance of connection, the relationships that keep us emotionally grounded and socially engaged. And finally, we touched on mindset, the way we think about aging, ourselves, and life itself. Now, I want to take a moment to bring all these ideas together, not as separate pieces, but as parts of a whole lifestyle. One that supports vitality, independence, and happiness well into our later years. Let me share a story with you. A few years ago, I came across an interview with a man named Hiroshi from Okinawa, Japan. He was 102 years old and still gardening every day, cooking simple meals for his family, and walking down to the local tea shop to chat with friends. When asked what he thought was the secret to his long life, he smiled and said, "Not one thing. Many small things done with care. Isn't that beautiful? Not one big miracle. No magic pill or extreme diet. Just everyday choices made with intention and love." That's exactly what we've been talking about here. 5 habits that may seem small on their own, but when practiced together, create a powerful foundation for health and longevity. So let's go back through them one more time, not as a list, but as a rhythm, like the beat of a heart or the turning of seasons. Having a sense of purpose is like lighting a candle inside you. It warms you from within and guides your steps. Whether it's raising grandkids, volunteering, painting, or even just keeping a tidy garden, having something that makes you feel needed and fulfilled gives your life energy and direction. Then there's movement. It's easy to think that once we hit a certain age, we should slow down. But centenarians prove otherwise. They stay active not because they have to, but because it feels good. Walking, stretching, dancing, doing chores around the house, it all adds up. The key is consistency, not intensity. So if you're sitting right now, maybe pause and do a few shoulder rolls or reach your arms overhead. Even tiny movements matter. When it comes to eating, centenarians don't follow fads or strict diets. Instead, they eat real food, mostly plants, a bit of protein, and very little processed junk. They eat slowly, savoring each bite, and they stop before they're completely full. This kind of mindful eating helps the body digest better, keeps energy levels steady, and prevents overeating. If you're looking for a place to start, try adding one extra vegetable to your plate today. Maybe a side of steamed broccoli or a colorful salad. Connection is another cornerstone of longevity. Loneliness can be a silent enemy as we age, but strong relationships are like emotional vitamins. They nourish the soul. Whether it's calling a friend, joining a group, or simply sharing a smile with a neighbor, staying connected boosts mood, reduces stress, and even strengthens the immune system. And remember, it doesn't have to be grand gestures. Consistent, small interactions build up over time into something truly meaningful. And then there's mindset, the lens through which we see the world. Centenarians often have a quiet optimism, a resilience that allows them to adapt without losing their joy. They practice gratitude, find humor in life's quirks, and accept change with grace. You don't have to be naturally positive to develop this habit. Like any muscle, your mindset can be strengthened over time with practice. Start by noticing one good thing each day, something small that brought you comfort or joy. Maybe it was the smell of fresh coffee, a warm blanket, or a phone call from a loved one. These moments add up. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. These all sound great, but how do I actually start doing them? That's a fair question, and I'm glad you asked. The answer isn't about doing everything perfectly, it's about starting somewhere. Pick one habit that resonates with you most and give it a try. Maybe it's committing to a short walk after breakfast, or calling a friend once a week, or adding an extra serving of vegetables to your dinner. Small changes lead to big results over time. And here's the best part, you don't have to do it alone. Share your journey with someone you trust. Talk to a friend about what you're learning. Ask them to join you for a walk or to swap healthy recipes. Accountability and encouragement make all the difference. I also want to remind you that it's never too late to begin. Whether you're in your early 60s or well into your 80s or beyond, your body and mind are still capable of adapting and thriving. Every choice you make today contributes to how you'll feel tomorrow and 10 years from now. You deserve to live with energy, purpose, and joy at any age. And the good news is the tools to do so are already within your reach. You don't need expensive supplements, complicated routines, or drastic life changes. You just need to start gently, consistently, and with kindness toward yourself. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. What's one habit you're inspired to try first? Is it finding more purpose, moving your body more, improving your diet, connecting with others, or cultivating a more positive mindset? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Wise and Well. There's more where this came from. Tips, stories, and inspiration for living your best life after 60. Just click that bell icon so you never miss a new video. And remember, longevity isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. It's about waking up each morning feeling grateful, connected, and ready to embrace the day. It's about being able to enjoy time with your grandchildren, travel if you choose, laugh with friends, and feel strong enough to do the things you love. So here's to you, to your health, your happiness, and your future. May you live fully, deeply, and beautifully at every stage of life. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.